In ancient African belief systems, fertility wasn't just about reproduction, it was sacred energy, a cosmic alignment between the spirit world, the earth, and human destiny. In many tribes, the womb was revered as a portal between the physical and spiritual realms, a place where ancestors returned and future leaders were conceived. This understanding went far beyond biology, it was deeply spiritual. Among the Dogon of Mali, fertility was entwined with astronomy and ancestral spirits. Their knowledge of Sirius B, the invisible star, was believed to be tied to the spiritual seed that fertilizes life. The Dogon saw conception as not only a physical act but a cosmic ritual in which the ancestors chose souls to be born. Fertility ceremonies were performed in sacred groves, where dancers mimicked the rhythm of creation, and elders chanted invocations to ancestral spirits. Similarly, in the Yoruba tradition, fertility was personified by Orisha deities like Osun, goddess of love, rivers, and childbearing. Women struggling with infertility would visit Osun's sacred grove in Osogbo, offering honey, chickens, and prayers at the river's edge. The water, flowing like the womb's life-giving amniotic fluid, symbolized purification, acceptance, and renewal. In the Igbo cosmology, fertility was central to the concept of chi, a personal guiding spirit. If a woman was barren, it wasn't seen as punishment but as a spiritual imbalance. Diviners would consult ancestral spirits to diagnose the cause, and rituals were held under moonlight, invoking Allah, the earth goddess and protector of fertility. The African view of fertility wove the sacred feminine into the very fabric of existence. The womb wasn't just a physical organ, it was divine space, a living altar where gods whispered destinies and bloodlines were renewed. In many African tribes, the journey from girlhood to womanhood was marked by powerful initiation ceremonies, complex, secretive rites that prepared young women spiritually, emotionally, and physically for motherhood. These weren't casual transitions, they were sacred metamorphoses. Among the Zulu people, girls underwent the Humemulo ceremony, a coming-of-age rite performed once a girl reached maturity. She would bathe in river water, be anointed with oils, and wear beaded garments while family and elders celebrated her new status. The rite emphasized purity, responsibility, and readiness for childbirth, not just in body, but in spirit. The Maasai of Kenya and Tanzania held elaborate ceremonies that introduced girls to the community as future bearers of life. These rituals included singing, dancing, storytelling, and elder blessings. A sacred necklace was placed on the girl as a symbol of fertility and continuity. The wisdom passed on in these moments was invaluable. How to nurture, how to survive childbirth, how to commune with the ancestors for protection. In Benin and Togo, the voodoo tradition involved sacred female-only gatherings called Vedunsi initiations. Here, young women were taught the secrets of fertility, herbs for conception, and the ways of the female deities. These initiations could last weeks, hidden from outsiders, where goddesses like Mami Wata were invoked for blessings and spiritual empowerment. Among the Chua people of Malawi, the fertility rite known as Chinamwali took girls into secluded camps where elderly women, known as Anamkungwi, taught them the meaning of womanhood. Through songs, dances, and symbolic acts, the girls were instructed in marriage, fertility, and how to honor their womb as sacred ground. These rites weren't mere traditions, they were ancestral contracts, preserving knowledge passed down for generations, shaping not only mothers but the spirit of future tribes. Across Africa, fertility was never left to chance. Entire tribes believed that invisible hands guided the womb, and only through rituals, obedience, and spiritual alignment could conception occur. Fertility was seen as a divine contract between humans and the gods, with women as sacred vessels carrying the hopes of lineages. In many communities, virginity before marriage was deeply sacred, not as a form of oppression, but as a rite tied to spiritual purity and ancestral order. Among the Zulu of South Africa, young girls underwent virginity testing, known as ukalowa kwezintombi. Elders, usually respected women, would inspect and counsel the girls, ensuring they remained untouched until marriage. The test wasn't merely physical, it was a public affirmation of self-discipline and family honor. Girls who passed were celebrated during ceremonies like Umkosi Wamlanga, the reed dance, where thousands of virgins danced before the Zulu king in flowing beads, symbolizing readiness for womanhood and fertility blessings. In the Bakongo and Bemba tribes, young girls entered seclusion rites called Mbuza or Nkanda. Inside sacred huts, far from male eyes, elderly women passed down sacred knowledge of fertility, sexual responsibility, and womanhood. The teachings were deep, ritual songs, herbal knowledge for boosting fertility, and how to spiritually cleanse the womb before union. When the girls emerged days or weeks later, they were adorned in glowing body paint, beads, and cloth, surrounded by family and drumming elders. They were no longer girls, they were spiritually initiated women, blessed by the ancestors and the gods of reproduction. Some rites were more symbolic than literal. Among the Twi-speaking Akan of Ghana, young women underwent bragoro, a puberty ritual where the body was bathed in sacred water, blessed with fertility herbs, and surrounded by white cloth to represent purity. A priestess invoked Asasia, the Earth Mother Goddess, to bless the womb of the girl and ensure that no evil spirit interfered with her reproductive journey. The Oromo people of Ethiopia combined virginity rites with ancestral oaths. Before marriage, girls were presented to community elders who conducted blessings over their wombs. If the girl had broken cultural codes of virginity, it was believed that fertility spirits could reject her offerings in future pregnancies. This belief instilled a sacred responsibility, not shame, around protecting one's spiritual readiness for conception. These rites were more than physical, they were spiritual contracts, bridging ancestral realms with earthly bodies. Through dance, prayer, seclusion, and symbolism, the African woman was prepared not only to bear children, but to carry nations in her womb. While some fertility rites were well known, others were practiced in seclusion, hidden from outsiders. These secret ceremonies were thought to hold immense power, believed to align individuals with ancestral spirits and fertility gods to ensure a prosperous future for the community. Among the Zulu, one of the most famous and sacred rituals was the virginity test, known as ukalowa kwezintombi. Young girls would be examined by elder women to confirm their purity, both physically and spiritually. This practice was considered a rite of passage, where girls who passed would be celebrated at the Umkosi Wamlanga, reed dance, a public ceremony where virgins danced for the king, symbolizing their readiness for womanhood and fertility. The Maasai of Kenya and Tanzania also held rigorous rites of passage for both boys and girls. Young women underwent purification rituals that involved bathing in sacred rivers and undergoing seclusion to prepare for marriage. These rites were believed to align them with ancestral spirits and ensure their fertility for childbirth. Blood rituals were also central to the Maasai, where the exchange of blood was believed to cleanse and strengthen the body, preparing it for the vital act of reproduction. In Nigeria, the Igbo people practiced secret nighttime fertility rituals where women, seeking blessings from Allah, the earth goddess, would make offerings of food and drink. These rituals took place under the cover of darkness in sacred groves, away from the eyes of outsiders. Women would lay hands on sacred stones, asking the goddess to bless their wombs for fertility. The secrecy of these rituals made them all the more powerful, linking women directly with the divine. Among the Bemba people of Zambia, the Chinamwali ceremony marked a girl's transition into womanhood. This rite involved virginity testing and a period of seclusion where girls were taught about fertility, sexual health, and motherhood. During the initiation, the girls were adorned in sacred cloths and paints, representing their purified state and readiness for marriage. The ceremony was a spiritual and physical preparation for motherhood, ensuring they were spiritually cleansed and protected for their reproductive journeys. These secret rituals, whether through virginity tests, seclusion, or sacred offerings, highlighted the deep spiritual connection between fertility, womanhood, and community. They were not merely physical rites, but spiritual contracts, linking the human experience to the divine and ensuring that each generation could continue to thrive under the protection of their ancestors and gods. While many ancient fertility rites have evolved or faded, their impact remains deeply rooted in African culture. These traditions continue to shape how communities view fertility, womanhood, and the sacred responsibility of motherhood. Today, these rites and their spiritual significance are being reinterpreted and revitalized across Africa. In modern-day Nigeria, the Igbo people still observe festivals like Odogwu, where young women celebrate their fertility and womanhood. Though the rituals have become less secretive, they continue to honor Allah, the earth goddess, in community events. The blessing of women with fertility, health, and prosperity remains central to the celebrations, albeit in a less private, more inclusive form. This blend of tradition and modernity ensures that ancient beliefs stay relevant, even in contemporary times. Across the continent, some communities continue to celebrate virginity and purity in rites like the Zulu reed dance. While its form has adapted, the core message remains the same, celebrating the sacredness of womanhood and honoring the community's expectations for spiritual and physical readiness for childbirth. These celebrations are not only about preserving virginity but also reinforcing the connection between the individual and the community, and between the physical and spiritual realms. In Kenya, the Maasai have modernized their fertility rites to include education and counseling alongside traditional practices. While girls no longer undergo seclusion as they once did, the spirit of the rites lives on through initiation ceremonies that emphasize spiritual maturity and fertility preparation. Today, Maasai women are empowered with both ancestral wisdom and modern knowledge, ensuring they are prepared for motherhood in a way that honors both cultural and contemporary values. In many African cities, traditional rituals are becoming more public as they blend with global cultures and modern spirituality. Festivals like the Ndebele initiation dance in South Africa, though rooted in ancient practices, are now performed with a focus on empowerment, honoring the sacredness of womanhood and fertility. These rituals serve as a bridge between past and present, uniting African heritage with modern-day understandings of femininity and empowerment. The continued reverence for fertility in African cultures reflects a deep connection to ancestral wisdom and the divine feminine. While the practices may have evolved, the spiritual essence remains unchanged, celebrating the sacred journey of womanhood and the responsibility that comes with bringing new life into the world. Through these modern echoes, African fertility rites remain a vital part of the continent's cultural identity and a testament to the timeless power of women. In conclusion, Africa's fertility rites are more than just ancient customs, they represent a deep spiritual connection to the divine and the earth, celebrating the sacred role of womanhood and motherhood. These traditions, though evolving, continue to shape African societies and empower future generations. The reverence for fertility remains alive in both traditional and modern forms. If you found these stories enlightening, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more insights into the rich cultural heritage of Africa.